Welcome and good evening, everybody. It's so good to have you all here tonight. Oh, I don't know if my mic is echoing or not. I'll have to double check that. Um, might be, might not be. If you're in the chat and you think that my microphone is echoing, please let me know and I will get that corrected as quickly as possible. Welcome to another evening of Relics of War. It's Monday night. We took off last week. We had some things going on in personal lives, but we are so glad to be here. We will be streaming all the way through the pandemic as well as other things going on. So, with no further ado, let's hit it. I'm gonna pick on Ionia's Ionia's player, and let her introduce herself. Tell us what's going on this week. Then she'll pick her victim, and we'll go right down the line. Take it away.
Hi everyone, my week's been my last 2 weeks have been pretty good, very busy, lots with like job applications and stuff, which is made very complicated by schools being closed, but it's been very productive in terms of getting some more stuff up on my Etsy, including I spent the last couple of days fighting with my sewing machine, pulling it out of hibernation, and getting a bunch of face masks made, very topical for the time being right now. I found some super cute fabrics, like a rose fabric, this purple butterfly fabric. I've got a blue diamond fabric, and I've got a splatter paint kind of looking fabric that I've used and I've been making face masks for. And gotta say, I've already worn one, the one that my sewing machine absolutely hated, so the stitches got all janky on it, but I got to wear it out to the grocery store, and I felt like the most fabulous person walking around in what is potentially the apocalypse. So I've got my priorities in the right place. It's been a pretty good week. How about you, Eric?
So my last couple weeks, it's been a little stressful, I will admit. But the positives have definitely outweighed the negatives. I'll just say that. It's been, pretty fun being a counselor in a time like this. Get a lot of stories and working with kids, so you get a lot of jokes too, so it's pretty fun at times. So other than that, just been enjoying this wonderful weather up here in PA. It's been really warm lately, and so I've been trying to get outside, uh, you know get some fresh air, because I believe that's very important in times like this, because we gotta all have cabin fever by now, but get that fresh air every once in a while, get a little exercise in, and it reset me. So if you guys give it a shot, it wouldn't hurt. But yeah, it's been pretty good so far. How about you, Kitty Doe?
My week has been good. I've been working on an animation video up on my YouTube channel. I also have a video scheduled to come out at Wednesday at noon EST time. That one's just looking through my first sketchbook. It's this thing right here. You can tell how sketchbooky it is. But that's what my week's been. Take it away, Brock. Unless you've already gone. You haven't gone, right?
Okay. Somebody get that girl some coffee.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us again this week. My week's been pretty decent. Was getting stressed out a little bit last week, and so I took a mental health day on Friday and decided to go to the range and put some rounds down range.
Dude,
Nice.
It was a great
jealous.
time. Between the four of us that went, we probably had 45 weapons out there, pistols, rifles, shotguns, you name it. Good time. On the downside of that, as I was sighting in my new AR, I had a malfunction and blew it into 3 pieces. So I do have to purchase some new parts for that.
Nice.
But it was very therapeutic. I had a great time. Got to see some friends I haven't gotten to hang out with in a while.
Nice.
It was a good day for recharging, like you mentioned earlier, Eric. So that's about it.
Sweet. Fantastic. For me, my week's been going. Looks like we just announced changeover in jobs. Some things happening up here, so we'll keep you all in the loop in the days and months ahead. What we're looking at is when things are going to be changing and whatnot, because it might affect stream times, ability to connect. We might be going overseas and whatnot, so I don't know. We'll let you all know. I'll let you know as I know more. We build tables of friendship that go and go and go, so we're just going to try and keep that going as long as we can. All right. What the heck is going on with Brock's there? I noticed that we got like 2 different. That's weird. All right, we're gonna delete that one. I don't know why we got 2. Yes.
Or was this over on the stream?
Yeah, I'm looking on the stream, and Brock had. I'm sure all our viewers will notice it here in about 10 seconds. He had like 2 overlays of stats. It was really kind of weird. That's all right.
He has the character as all of us.
There, he's like, I want +10 to all my rolls now. And the answer is no. Only if I'm allowed to throw a Tarrasque at you.
All right, I'll settle for 5.
That's true, because he got that big bump up as he was figuring out his character when he hit level 3. So that was pretty cool. All right, with no further ado, we left off, our players were 7 minutes in, and they were actually attempting to leave Zem. Last I had heard, they've been in Zem, which is just outside Zoriat. It's another island, and after having some run-ins, they have escaped from an underground dwarven complex. Some issues went on. They struggled with some other individuals, and I believe, as I remember, the players wanting to actually try and leave, but I'm going to leave it up to them. We will adapt and overcome, because like any great DM, I understand that my plots and plans mean nothing. So take it away, players. Tell me where you're at and what your plans are. Are we going back inland? Are we fighting everything? Are we burning this town to the ground? What are we doing?
I thought we were heading back towards the mainland.
Yeah, I think we had heard, because we had heard that there was a weapon out in the jungle, but we also heard that I think we also heard that there were more weapons also in the mainland that we could be pursuing. So
We also found out that there's some spheres around here that we can go search.
Yes, the spheres. We need the spheres.
All right, who's going to clue the audience in on what happened there?
There was a really, really confusing, multi-layered miscommunication that happened. Because in the past, when we had discussed what things my character might be going for, I had indicated my character likes to use a pipe, which we already continually refer to as a spear because there's no axe head on the end of it. It's really more of a spear, S-P-E-A-R, than anything. However, at the beginning of last session, I believe something else was a staff was referred to first. And I heard staff the first time and said, I think this is a miscommunication. I believe we're referring to the spear that I was looking for. So I, in my responses, referred to a spear. Upon me saying spear, probably a lot to do with my braces, it came across as sphere. So then the DM proceeded to give us information about spheres that we might be finding in these underground worlds. And I was sitting there kind of trying to figure out what we're looking for and what my motivation for finding these magic spheres is. We got it clarified after the game, though, that
Yeah, after the game, the DM was like, wow, so I just kind of ran. You guys changed that over to spheres, and I was like, okay. And they're like, oh, no, we thought you were changing it. So each of us was trying to be kind to the other one and wondering why the other one was switching things up. So that's where we're at. So there are probably spheres that you're leaving behind. Some other ones in the world. They found out some things about the dwarven vaults that they were in downstairs, some code systems, some combinations, and they also put together the fact that these dwarven vaults were not just on Zem and whatnot, and they found some interesting hints and riddles, if these guys were smart enough to write it down, about other locations. So that was where they decided to go back to the mainland.
Zenubs wants to know about all of our characters, if we just want to go through real quick.
you cut me off.
Sorry,
I was going to say that.
go for it. I didn't say anything. No, I didn't say anything.
You totally cut me off. You made
Oh my.
Kitty Doe, I choose you.
Hi, I play Lythander, who is a rogue, but we're gonna say an acquirer of goods. Go ahead, Chic Geek.
No, Eric, you can go next.
Oh, okay. I am Claymore, who is a fighter, warforged, that looks a little put back together. He's not really like gleaming and shiny, if I do say so myself. But yeah, he's a little rough around the edges. So, Brock, you want to go?
Actually, ladies first. Go ahead, Arya.
I play Ionia. She's a warlock with a very cheerful disposition and a love of nature.
And I am playing Benoit. He is half Goliath, half elf, and he is a monk.
Yeah, half Goliath, half elf. Elf. We're talking custom race there. Hey, Lythander, you might want to tilt your camera up just a touch. You're cutting off the top of your head, just so you know, on the things, because you're kind of zoomed in, and I was checking to see if I could zoom you out any further.
Oh, you're good.
You know, but right now I'm having enough troubles. We changed over some software, some other things, and it's just glitching out left and right, but we're going to keep this thing going. So there you go, Z-Nub. You kind of got a appreciation of who's here. Thank you for asking that question. That gives Z-Nub an inspiration too. So the second inspiration of the night has now been given out and are in the hands of 2 players to be given away at their leisure when they would like to, or leisure, depending on how you want to pronounce it, tomato, tomato, to a player in need or in advance. So there we go. Kicking this thing in the pants. You're in town. You had just ripped off Neartack the Sleepy. You've robbed some people. You've caused some fights. You've met old friends, gotten them angry at you and whatnot. And now your choice is to do what?
Head to the boats to get a ride back to the mainland.
This motley group heads down towards the docks where you've been before. And again, you now know your way around the town well enough that when you come around the edge, where a previous in some of your memories, and again it keeps coming back, it seems like the farther you get from the inland, almost like this thing that was draining your memories is dissipating, and each of you is starting to get flashbacks and memories of where you might have known each other. You get towards the docks, and there's 2 ships there, one of which appears like the typical wooden vessel, very seaworthy. You can see some of the metal on the sides of it that is built to actually withstand some of the storms as well as some of the sea creatures that lie outside of them. But the other one appears incredibly odd. It's completely smooth on the sides. You don't see any wood on it anywhere. The top of it appearing flat and whatnot. You notice that there's a ramp with a very well-dressed individual who appears to be arguing with a minotaur. The standard wood ship, which has sails on it and whatnot, appears to have a motley crew of various individuals, including a tall, furry individual who appears to be swinging from the various masts and rigging of the ship. So which one do you want to approach? A hawker's voice nearby to your right is offering to sell tickets to both.
Tickets?
What's the
What are the prices for the 2 different boats?
One looks obviously more rich.
As you go over and ask the individual, he quickly explains that the masted tent, which is the wood ship he refers to, is actually just getting ready to head back out. They had hoped to get more dragon shards, but with some of the events since the entire Zem burned down from some mysterious, I don't know, ever since you guys got here, just weird stuff has happened. You guys were inland, and again, there's all sorts of problems going on here. They weren't able to get the dragon shards they wanted, so that ship will be willing to take passengers probably, and this individual, he tells you, while he talks about tickets, actually acts as a barter to get them. So he suggests that he can probably get you passage back depending on where you want to go. If you're going to the mainland, Sharn, he says they are headed that way, and he believes that he could probably get you passage all the way back there for as little as 10 gold apiece. The other ship, he says, is absolutely impossible. There's no way you could get on that one.
What's
That.
Makes me want to get on it.
Yeah, what's that one? That one sounds way better.
He kind of turns his nose up a little bit, and he goes, the captain of that ship, Ortek, he goes, barely will say a word in common to anybody. He goes, and didn't even want to pay the
But he
fees to
can't
dock.
speak it. He just doesn't want to.
He goes, as well as any minotaur can speak. You can see his disdain for him. He goes, he's half brute. He's half monster. If anything ever crawled out of Dask, it was him.
We're all a little bit monstrous inside.
He looks at the Warforged, looks at the Eliath, and looks at you with your green hair and says, he goes, I've seen all your types before. And then he kind of looks again at the Eliath and goes, maybe, I think I have.
I nudged Claymore kind of in the arm, and I'm like, hey, I think that boat over there is our way to go.
Which one do you point to?
The one that's got the impossible
Does the Minotaur speak a language other than Common? Is it maybe just that he speaks a different language better?
He was, I don't know, he would hardly say a word. Just argued about having to pay anything to dock here and said he was heading right back out.
Okay.
Sounds more fun to me.
Is he
When in
standing?
doubt, pick the impossible path.
Yes.
He goes, I'll be glad to barter that for you. He goes, shall we say 10% on top of whatever I can swing for a fee for you? This individual is obviously into bartering and trying to get some money out of this deal.
I'm gonna turn around. I'm
I
gonna
can
go
give you 2 nose hairs.
and start heading up the
Doc?
ramp towards the Minotaur, and I'm gonna try to talk to him myself and see what kind of passage he's offering.
I'm going with him.
You guys walk off, leave the guy behind
Sorry,
who's like,
goodbye, thank you.
Oh, are we
I
leaving?
guess our
Wait,
group
guys,
is
wait for me.
moving. I give him a gold for the information.
he bites it, tells you thank you, and he, as you're walking away, he tells you, he goes, don't forget, his name is Ortek, and compliments
Ortek.
his hat.
And his hat.
Okay. There we go.
When you guys get over towards, you walk by the wooden ship with the metal prow at the front of it, and the tabaxi swings down out of the front and appears to be talking to a large, what looks like a stone golem and whatnot. You get over towards the wooden ship just as the man with a flowing cape, a big puffy shirt, black sleeves and whatnot comes down the ramp looking somewhat furious, and he's followed by this, what appears to be a, whether you want to call it a golem, a homunculus, but something that has been handcrafted, some form of magical creature carrying what appears to be 2 suitcases almost as big as it is, yet it's got them off the ground and it's walking behind him. And he looks somewhat annoyed as he looks around, and he's on his own. Rather foppish, rather overdressed for being here. And now you can all see up on the decks the back of a minotaur with one large horn and the other one broken off halfway down. And he's got his back towards you and he's walking back along the ship.
Ortek, buddy, old pal, old friend of mine. I love your hat.
Sharp
It's
hat.
for me.
What is it that you love about the hat? Describe it for us.
It's so big and voluptuous, and it's kind of like one of the pirate hats, a Jolly Roger hat.
Except
But
I'm very fond.
Off of the one side is a giant purple feather.
Nice. Very nice. Take a plot point for that.
Thank
You yell, and Ortek turns around, and he lets out this big, and all of a sudden snot kind of shoots out his nose. And then he says in common, "Who are you?"
It's me, Lythander. You remember me?
Okay.
Ortek doesn't know you.
Ortek, it's like you must have you been drinking again?
The foppish man continues on with his homunculus following him as he leaves.
Ortek, where's my hug? I run after him.
You run up the ramp to you run up the ramp, and he says, "How dare you enter the Miss Priss without permission?"
Ortek, it's me, Lythander. How could you forget me?
Make a persuasion roll.
There it is.
First roll of the night.
All right.
Dang, dude. Almost a 22. Wow. Ortek, seeming confused as you run in and get really close to him, and you notice he's wearing what appears to be a long scimitar at his side that's wider than a usual scimitar, and he's dressed in an extremely tight-fitting shirt that allows some of the minotaur hair out of the front chest and whatnot, and extremely tight pants. You run up to him, and he's like, yes, I know you, as you like kind of get in his space, and he's like pushing back and goes, I know you, I don't remember drinking with you.
That's fine. It's in the past now. Anyways, me and my friends are looking for some passage over to mainland, and maybe me and you can get drinks again. Remember the one lady at that bar?
He says,
This
Ortek
time
doesn't
you
drink
might
at
get
bars.
lucky. This time you might get lucky.
No luck with women. What do you?
Come on. You can't say it like that. You gotta have some confidence, man. What? That snazzy hat of yours?
I remember you now. You were the one with all the secrets for the girls. You set Ortok up and had girls sitting on his lap. I like you. And he reaches over and slaps you on the back. Make a
Oh, God.
make an acrobatics check not to be knocked over and roll away. Are you three still down on the docks, or are you coming up
I have
after?
been following Lythander, but Lythander has a big personality, so.
I enjoy watching Lythander do things like this, so I'm just.
And you guys are standing there as Lythander gets knocked off the ship, rolls down the metal side, and falls into the water with a 1.
Can I maybe like make a check to try and catch him before he goes falling?
Sure, go ahead and make a try. Then we'll retcon falling into the water and
I mean,
make a
if
check
not,
to try it
that's
out.
Fine, I just.
No, go ahead.
What do you want me to be rolling?
You just said an acrobatics check, so go for
Acrobatics. Okay. With
Sure,
a
you
-3,
reach out
that's
and
not bad.
as Lythander is sliding down this rounded side of the ship, you reach out, you throw down your spear, and Lythander grabs onto the end of it before falling into the water. And Ortex starts laughing. He goes, "You're always falling down. Fall down for the ladies."
Basically my shtick.
Lythander, don't forget us. We gotta get on that ship too.
And he looks at the Warforged and the massive Eliath, and he goes, "How dare you come on Miss Priss without permission?"
My friends, they're also gonna help you.
Boarded the boat,
Bar lady.
waiting for all this to pass before I ask permission to come aboard.
Oh, okay. So you're down on the docks,
Etiquette.
and the Warforged, are you waiting down on the docks, or did you come on up?
Waiting until said otherwise.
This is Ionia, my mistress. This is Claymore. And all the way down there is our great new friend.
Claymore is with the Eliath, he said, down on the docks. So you point them out to Ortek, and he says, "If they're your friends, why they not with you? And why you bring her on ship without permission? You know, Ortek, you know no one gets on Miss Priss without permission."
She's my mistress. She's my +1.
Ooh.
It's a pleasure to be making your
Are you
acquaintance,
going to have her
Ortex.
sit on Ortek's lap?
No, she's my mistress. We're gonna get you that bar lady that we couldn't quite nail last time. Remember her?
She sit on lap.
Yeah, but she didn't go home with you. This time?
Ortek's home to Miss Priss. You know this.
I know, but she didn't get on the ship with you. Isn't that a shame? This time we get her.
Miss Priss is mistress. No other.
I know.
Some serious dedication.
Every captain married to his ship. You down there, come up here. And he points down towards the Warforged and the Eliath.
We start proceeding forward, heading up the plank.
As you get up, you realize size-wise, and he looks up just a little bit because, as I recall, the Eliath is what, 8 foot? Did we say? And the Warforged is a little bit shorter, like 7 foot something.
Yep.
And the Minotaur, his horns would be taller than you, but he's actually closer to around Claymore's size. So he looks up at the Eliath with somewhat appreciation, and then immediately goes, "Ruh, ruh," and kind of puffs up his chest towards you a little bit.
Whoa.
Am I recognizing some type of language on this, or is he just posturing?
You've done enough wrestling in your time, and you've actually wrestled a Minotaur before, and you recognize this is posturing, not quite a challenge, but that same thing, you know, who's bigger, who's going to be in charge here type attitude.
Okay, I recognize that immediately. I kind of dropped my head just a little bit. I mean, clearly my head's still above his, but kind of like that. And I'm like, "No challenge here. This is your boat. You're the man. We're just hoping we can gain travel back to the mainland."
He looks over at Claymore and says, then he looks away from Claymore saying nothing, looks to Lythander and says, "This one, yours?"
Yes.
Hmm.
He doesn't have the nice snazzy hat you have, so he's like no threat. You have to have style and presentation.
And as he does, snot comes flying out of his nose once more, sprayed towards, Ionia, Lythander, who are at the front since those two came up afterwards.
At least the person with Ionia's hair.
Oh no.
He says, "You get old friends discount. No have to share racks. Come, we're leaving."
All right.
Right away. Aye, aye, Captain.
You guys follow back, and there's inside of what appeared to be what you figured was like a ship's forecastle on this thing. As you came down it, he goes to this door, and you again notice that everything is metal here. He opens the door, and it's oval in shape, and brings you inside, and inside are the very familiar light globes that you've seen before. You've recognized these. They are everywhere, ever bright lanterns and whatnot. As you head on in, what does that say? That says my...
Mistress and okay then.
Okay. Wonderful.
It works.
You guys come on
Ionia's
in.
down.
When you enter in, he closes the door behind you, and you notice that he seals you in. He's in with you, but he seals you in, takes you down some pass. He goes on, gets by you in these tight corridors, which is really kind of crowded, trying to get by the Warforged and everybody else. And he yells ahead of him in a language that none of you know. Sounds more like the brain of a cow in heat. From somewhere up ahead, you hear, "Aye, Captain!" And then you hear somebody else yell and forward something else. Say, "Taking it out! Back away! Light up the elemental!" And you're hearing some other things, and it's a strong dwarvish, thick accent that you recognize, since some of you speak dwarvish. Moments later, the ship actually rocks and moves, and you've never heard anything about raising sails or anything else.
Amazing.
Next thing you know, the boat starts to move side to side. He leads you on, takes you down to where there's numerous racks just about 3 feet on top of each other, and there's absolutely no way the Warforged can get into one of these. And the Elliot, it would be really tight to squeeze into one of these.
Again, I don't think either of us is really too worried about a bed. We
Yeah.
can manage on our own.
He goes, "These 4 here for you. You.
Thank you,
Lift it.
Ortat.
Lift."
Yeah.
And he goes,
Thank you so much.
Then he turns around at the door, he goes, "Where I drop you?"
Just at the mainland. We can manage from there.
Mainland?
The big continent.
I
You
see
guys-
about that. He goes, I usually go mainland.
You guys have any other names for that?
He was
Whoops.
confused.
The name of our mainland?
Probably should have checked where the boat was going before we got on.
Crap.
He leaves you, and you're on your own. What do you guys want to do?
I'm sure one of his buddies does. Probably his second hand. You guys think there's any good booty on the ship?
Define booty.
Treasure.
Only this booty and that booty. Pointing at Lythander.
Just you might not want to because there's nowhere to go if you get caught.
Listen, the way I see it, I'll do it when we're on shore.
There's probably a lot of really good booty on the ship apart from ours. Like, it's a magic ship, I think. I didn't hear anything about sales. Where there's magic items. And where there's magic items, there's cash.
See, I understand the conversation y'all are having right now with, finding the booty and all that kind of stuff, but I'm more
Where's the
curious
booty?
on finding out where we're going. Because he didn't seem too confident with the whole mainland thing.
Anybody know
Just
the
my
name of the
suggestion.
mainland?
I mean,
You guys know that Sharn, where you came from, is on the continent of Corvair.
We should have just said Sharn.
Or Corvair. I mean,
Darn
he might not specifically be going to Sharn.
It's all right. It makes sense with your memory still, fuzzy and whatnot, that you guys are going to forget one or two things. Of course,
Whoops.
explaining that to others might be a little off.
Just talk to Ortak again.
Lythander drinks a little too much. We already know this. He goes out drinking with like everybody, and he doesn't remember things. He falls a lot. That's kind of his shtick.
His shtick is being a bad actor and asking for really strong drinks, but not really strong.
And yet you were able to get yourselves all onto the ship.
What can Lythander say? BS it till you make it.
When you're told something's impossible, you gotta go for it.
Exactly.
You hear a squeaky little voice from the racks across from you and down a little bit. You didn't even know somebody was here. They all appeared empty. And the squeaky little voice says,
We're talking about butts.
you hear, "Don't let the captain know you're lying. That's how I got here."
Lying?
Who are you?
Ain't lying.
Where are you?
You follow the voice and you actually see a tiny little gnome on the bottom rack, just like I said, down from you in the back. And she's got this beautiful big green hair, as green as poor Ionia's hair, but not pulled into cornrows. You can see it tucked out from underneath a skull cap that's been pulled tight and whatnot. It's hanging all down around her face and whatnot. And she appears to be working on some sort of little mechanical item in her hand. And there's some cogs and whatnot in between her legs. And she looks over at you and says, she goes, "I have good ears. I could hear you. Something about BS." And she goes, "Don't let him know you're lying, though."
That's booty searching.
I introduce myself. Elaborate on what she means by that's how she got here.
She goes, "I lied about where I was going to be going. And as a result, I also lied about the money that I had. And since I lied about it, I now have to work off my debt to him."
Oh, well, we're getting free passage.
She stops and drops a cog and says, "No one rides the Miss Priss for free."
I rides the Miss Priss for free.
Pays to be friends with the captain.
Yeah.
Our friendship goes way back.
Getting someone laid is kind of priceless.
You guys
Or
notice
even
her
nearly
head start.
Must have heard something other than what I heard because I never heard him say free. I heard him say friends discount.
The friends discount, I think, was that we don't have to share a room. I believe that was what immediately followed that statement, actually. We got our own separate racks. But I always have my own rack.
And Benoit gets his first plot point of the night.
Oh, crap. Well then. I don't feel like working off my debt. So, good thing we weren't lying, though.
The gnome says, she puts down the gizmo that she was working on and puts out her hand and she goes, "Hi, I'm Genki. Genklish Finkelriddle."
It's a pleasure to meet you, Genki, and I shake her hand.
Lythander wraps his hand right around this tiny little gnome hand, and it's kind of like when the Warforged goes to shake Lythander's hand. It just dwarfs it, and you shake it up and down. And Genki actually shakes back. She's, got a good strength for a gnome, and she goes, "It's good to meet you." She goes, "I like your hair," and she points over towards Ionia.
Thank you. It takes a lot to maintain, but I'm really pleased with it. Your hair has a very lovely color, too, but I might be slightly biased.
She goes,
You ever
"Mine's
do
all
anything with it?"
natural."
Mine had to be altered when I was younger. I wasn't born with hair this way, but it grows this way now.
She fixed it.
Ooh, that's interesting. I've never heard of anybody changing the way their hair color grows. She goes, "Are you a wizard?"
Not quite, but I do some magic. I'm more of a fighter nowadays. Do you ever do anything with your hair?
She goes, "Yeah, I shove it under my cap."
Nothing else?
She goes, "Not much to do down here." She goes, "Not like we have really washrooms." She goes, "Until we get back to port."
Doesn't mean you're not a piece of art. You should decorate yourself.
She goes, "No, I like things more natural." She goes, "Besides, there's too much metal here. It depresses me. So I do what my ancestors did and I make things." She goes, That's good. She goes, I miss growing things though.
How long are you going to be stuck down here?
She goes, well, I've been down working on the ship with the captain now for 3 weeks, and he said a total of 6 months. So,
What's the total amount that you owe to be debt free
6 months.
in terms of money?
She goes, don't know. Just got caught. I said that I had 2 gold. It wasn't enough. I was told that I had to pay 20 gold originally, but I only had 2. I said I had 20. I didn't. She shrugs.
6 months isn't so bad.
Maybe we can stow you away off the ship.
Dinky says, he does have a mirror.
Huh?
Does a mirror have to do with anything?
The mirror where he stores people.
Oh God.
He goes, if you slip me in there, maybe you could get his mirror and get away.
I love that idea. Where does he keep the mirror?
He goes,
I work on unsticking my fingers from each other.
He goes, whenever I've seen it, it's usually at his side, inside the pouch that he carries.
Good to know. Do you know where the captain's quarters are?
She goes, sure. She goes, it's the front end of the ship. She goes, all you have to do is follow the sounds. She goes, it's not like you can get lost here. She goes, 2 floors, front to back, crew at the back, elemental ring in the middle, drive thrust on the sides, storage everywhere else.
But front of the ship, big door, can't miss it.
She goes, follow the main passage. She rolls out, stands up, and she comes up to about, I don't know, the Warforged and Elliot just above the knees. So it's like, she's about a haul of 3 feet tall, maybe, 2.5 to 3 feet. So while some gnomes are bigger, she's not, but her hair on top seems pretty pushy and whatnot underneath this thing. She walks out between you, and she's actually quite agile, getting in between your legs and whatnot. She leads you out to the main area, and she goes, right here. She goes, just follow this all the way down. That way, towards the front.
Awesome. I can't do that right now, but when night comes.
She goes, how will you know it's night?
By walking around periodically up on top. Can you not do
And
that?
she starts laughing. She goes,
He did seal the door.
Are we underwater?
Oh
she
God.
goes, of course.
We're underwater?
What
She goes,
kind of machinery goes underwater?
Oh my god, I've never been underwater.
She goes, how else would you get to the city under the sea?
What?
The city
Excuse-
under the sea.
Yes.
Lysander.
Oh, this is
I
gonna-
love traveling with your friends.
This is gonna be fun.
It's an adventure. You never know where life's gonna take
That
you.
almost makes me wish I had real friends.
So, what am I?
When you leave me, you probably won't consider me a friend.
This is
I
where
have
the
no intentions of leaving.
And this is where, again, teaching for our DMs that are watching and learning, all you have to do is give the options to the players that lead exactly where they want to go, and an option that doesn't go where they want to go, and watch them not ask questions and just automatically derail whatever the plans were. It's fun to watch.
Well, either way, it's an adventure. So here we
That's
go.
Already both going back up to the mainland when we get to the water city. The real trick will be is tricking Ortac. How many days or how estimation wise, how long does it take to get to the underwater city?
She goes, it depends on how fast he burns the elemental energy. She
Well,
goes,
you work a lot on the ship, right?
she goes, unfortunately, he has me fixing things like the little gizmos and whatnot. She goes,
But you
I'm
can get
built to grow
estimations
things.
from the gizmos.
and get
Presumably
explanations.
presumably by how fast they break or how much stress and wear and tear on it, you can get estimations on like how fast he's pushing the machine. And if you know how fast he's pushing the machine and the elemental stuff, then you can probably get an estimation at how many clicks we are away from the city.
She goes, well, she goes, I haven't really had a sleep schedule in a long time. I haven't seen the light of day in 3 weeks, but I don't know, it feels kind of like, almost like with the tide shifts. I swear I can still feel them, and it feels sort of like it might be, I don't know, 5 days?
5 days?
Maybe? Again, I don't really know. You're not going to see daylight down here.
Right. Well, I'm gonna go. In fact, like if we all went, and what I really need to find right now is not in this room, but in general, guys, try to be discreet about this, but I need to find a loose floorboard or a loose panel on the wall. Because the moment I take this mirror, he's going to be looking to everybody about where it went, including us. So we don't want to hide it near us, but we do want it hidden because we don't want to be searched and for him to be like, oh, the mirror's on you.
Consider maybe, not that I have any experience with, law, though I was a soldier for a while and I worked some official details. He might not necessarily care whether or not he actually finds it on us. He might just put together dots. I have passengers, an item went missing. I'm holding you accountable until the item is found.
Yep. Once
Yeah.
one person messes up, everybody does.
Off the boat until we try anything.
True,
Just my
so we need to plant evidence that makes him think that somebody else did it. Notably, the best way to do that is to start talking to his second hand, make his second hand jealous of his power, start getting them to fight a lot, then the mirror goes missing, who's he gonna blame?
Well, I have a thought. How about
No,
we...
the guy's not that smart, he's a minotaur.
Correct. How about we stay where we are and ride this thing out?
How about we have a poor, innocent, beautiful gnome who needs saving?
We barely even know her, unfortunately. No offense. But
Dinky's head just kind of like listening, going back and forth as each of you speaks, looking up.
Might also want to consider that if he has a mirror that traps things, we might want to find out what's in the mirror that if we don't know how to use the item, we may or may not release. Security detail or something,
yeah.
Private
Security
assassins.
detail, all the
Demons
evil
that owe
demons
him
versus the cloak all the way
favors.
at the bottom. Who knows what's
Dinky
in-
says,
A Tarask.
Dinky says, just the 5 of us total. Him, 4 others, me, Dinky. She goes, we all do the jobs, as he says. She goes,
But
what
what's
choice do you
inside the
have?
mirror, do you know?
Only he can run ship.
But do you know what's in the mirror?
She goes, just seen him put people in it. Transport them, bring them out at other locations.
Well,
Usually
if you-
prisoners.
Slavery? No.
Maybe.
prisoners
Very
of the
likely.
law?
Minotaurs are part of a race that very likely may have slavery and stuff going on still.
Yeah, I'm not very
They're not
fond.
considered the more modern civilized races.
Either way, it's human trafficking to a sense. Who knows?
Oh, sure, yeah. I'm just saying it very well could be.
I don't believe Minotaurs are well known for their morality.
I also don't know if they're well known for like being organized enough to like do slave trade.
But he's captain of a ship. So
Well,
obviously he is
but
the
it's not a big
one.
ship, there's only 5 people.
And yet it's going.
You have a
And
point
it's
there.
been going, so I imagine the number doesn't mean too much. Magic ship
Magic ship.
that goes under the water.
Who would have thought of something like that?
I'm going to attempt to go walk around and explore.
Probably
Don't
House
go
Canada.
top side.
Probably the same people that made the flying airships.
Flying airships. What?
Oh yeah.
You know, the same people that made you.
Lots of tech.
Things are coming back now.
Crazy.
Or House Lyrander helping out. The houses that secretly control the world, you're starting to remember some of.
Right.
those individuals who buy and sell. So then, are you going to split up, or are you just going to like try and explore the ship, work with Genki?
Yeah, I'm gonna head to the back where she said the crew would be.
I'm gonna stay and just chat with Genki. Nothing specific or anything, just building good bonds. I like her hair.
Also gonna go out for now, and kind of look for hidden panels.
Claymore's gonna tag along with Benoit. See where this goes.
That actually works out for Lythander. Lythander is able to be a little bit more sneaky and alone rather than hearing the large Warforge moving and whatnot, because
You are
your
the
metal
only stealthy
plates
one.
actually
Huh?
moving on much of the ship, which, as I said, is metal. Even there's very little wood in here, although you do have a sense actually of something. Make a perception roll for us, would you please, Claymore?
Yes. Let's see. Perception. Where's perception? Oh, geez. Oh, my goodness. It's been a while. Where the heck? Oh, there it is.
Second column, halfway down.
You have would you make one for me, Benoit? Since you and he are with him
Where's the
together.
perception at?
There you go. Claymore appears to be moving. You know, he's got his giant warhammer in his hands and whatnot. But Benoit, you happen to notice something as it swings in his hand. Whenever it's close to the bulkhead, you've watched it for a minute or so, but the glowing head on it glows a little bit brighter whenever it gets near the bulkhead. Kitty, you can make have Lythander make a investigation roll as you look for a place that you might stash something. Now, what are you in your mind? What do you picture the size of this mirror as? What type of place are you looking for?
Well, it fits inside of a bag, so I'm assuming it's a handheld mirror.
Okay,
So I'm looking for something that's like probably like somewhere around that big.
perfect.
A little vanity mirror.
Yep.
Maybe nothing's happening.
I'm going to point out to
Beautiful.
the glowing warhammer there, and kind of wondering when she was talking about, how this thing runs and it being in the middle of the ship, and now we're passing along the sides of these walls, and his thing's glowing. I wonder if it's some of the same stuff that powers up his thing there. There's some kind of magical energy flowing there, which is probably running the ship, and maybe the two are the same.
Claymore's playing around with it just to see, like, oh man, he's right. This is weird. Actually, could Claymore investigate the actual bulkhead himself?
What are you investigating it for? Like, I mean, are you looking to try and see if
Like-
part of it's loose, or
Seeing what it's kind of like made out of, like touching it, kind of just like seeing the kind of material and stuff.
it appears to be metal plating, and you can tell where there are seams, but you can't tell how the metal plating is held together. In other words, like stone. When stone is butted up, sometimes there's mortar in between or something. These plates just seem to butt up.
Odd. Okay. It's a little more streamlined than most metal platings, but
With your history, again, flashing back to your early days of creation, it comes to you that parts of your own being, again, like parts of your metal plate, are only held in place by magic against you. The bond, whether the plate is covering the living wood underneath, is literally just magic holding it in place, and it would be easy to surmise that that might be part of the reason for this. Benoit, specifically, can you give me some ideas that I might answer for you?
Well, like, is it maybe the same consistency? The plasma, is that what she's referring to as, like, maybe the Warforge material? Is that along
The
those
Well, the metal plating, he does have metal plating on the outside of him, but you can't see the living wood underneath. And the living wood is what he actually cuts open to get that plasma-like liquid out of himself. So to discover if there's any of that here, you would have to get beyond the metal plating. If it's like a Warforged, the way you're talking about. Ionia, you on the other hand, and chatting with Genki, discover a couple things. Genki is a druid. Genki was actually headed to the underwater city when she had said that she would have money to be there. She had thought that she might experience and bring her knowledge of plants and whatnot and her abilities with plants to the city and also learn about underwater growing things. Unfortunately, when she got there, one of the things that she discovered going to disembark and paying the captain the rest of the fee was no one there was willing to pay for her services, nor would the captain let her disembark to find somebody to pay for her services until he was paid. In her mind, you discover she had thought that like she would get to the dock and just like chat with some people and say, hey, look, I'm a druid, I can do this and I can pay you back. And the captain was like, oh, no. Ortec was like, you'll pay me first. And, oh, you don't have it? Then you owe me this under the law.
And the total was 20 gold, she had said that she owed?
No, she said that's what he was going to charge her on the way down, but that he took in trade 3 weeks of service. I'm sorry. Did I say 3 weeks? Yes. Yeah, she's 3 weeks in. 6 months of service.
All right.
Lythander, you have actually found numerous spots where you think you could slip something like that from under the floorboards where you're at to finding no loose panels per se, but you did find a compartment that opened up, and beneath that compartment was literally what appeared to be tubes and glowing lights flashing back and forth. Each tube was they varied in size. Some of them were as thick as your wrist, others were as thin as your finger, and like I said, various colored lights flashing back and forth. When you touch the tubes, the light seemed to respond to your hands. Cutting back.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say cutting back to anybody. I didn't know if you were pausing for time to think about that or what. So.
No, go ahead.
Who would like to take it?
I'm gonna head. We're heading down. I want to actually get back where the crew's at. I'm gonna kind of pay attention to what they're doing, what kind of tests they have. I'm hoping to maybe lend a hand and learn a little bit more about the ship.
When you get back, it's two dwarves arguing with one another. One of the large panels, almost 4 feet tall, 3 feet wide, is off, and you immediately, Claymore and Benoit, recognize exactly what's here. Underneath the plate is all this living wood striations back and forth. Some of it appears to be moving and writhing and whatnot. The dwarves seem to be arguing. Do you speak Dwarvish? Because I think Benoit does, if I remember.
I do.
Claymore does not.
Okay. Benoit, you recognize, again, a very different accent than you are used to from your time inside of the underground city that you were in previously. These dwarves are speaking with an accent, but what they appear to be talking about...
Hold up right there. I don't actually speak Dwarvish.
You speak Giant, right?
I speak Giant.
Right, the dwarves and the giants use the same script lettering, but they don't speak the same language. So right. They are speaking differently than what you understood in that underground city. So you do not understand them, but I'll give you, we're going to let you make a perception roll. Maybe you can pick out a word or two.
Okay.
As you try to determine what they're saying, because there's a couple little bits that come out, you think you understood them to be talking about a loss of energy, and they're trying to track it down, but you can't quite grasp all the details. Claymore, you've got no clue what they're talking about. Ionia, Lythander, Claymore, Benoit, it's all up to you. You guys can grab this as you like.
All right, so Lythander wants to start talking with some of the crew and sorting out, like, who's second in charge here.
Well, you haven't bumped. You didn't get to the back of the ship yet because you were specifically trying to find open spots away from people. You actually find a human, a woman, and she looks at you with no small amount of disdain, and you know why immediately. You can judge by the way she's dressed that she is the nouveau rich, but not like Mr. Fancy Pants that just left the ship. This woman, immediately your mind clicks in. You're like, you recognize the sigil. It comes to you in a moment. You've seen it before. This is a House Orion. Either wizard, somebody that does something with magic, and you think you catch a flash of something along her neck that looks like part of a tattoo.
I bow dramatically to her to show, her haughtiness that she is above me. And wait for her to tell me to rise.
She sniffs and says, "What do you want? Is one of those foolish dwarves sending you to talk to me? Why? Why did Ortek even let you on this ship? Oh, passengers. He should know better."
I'm so sorry to disturb you, ma'am. And I stand up again.
She says, "There are no bathrooms and the food is down below."
It's your beauty that brought me to you and nothing else.
She looks and raises an eyebrow and says, "Go on."
Might I say that women like you don't come along every single day, and the fact that you're here on what would otherwise be an unremarkable ship without you is amazing to me.
Don't let Ortek hear you. Man, you're gonna be working here for like years.
And you heard about my beauty from where exactly?
I didn't hear about your beauty. I just happened to see you earlier when I was going down into the ship. And I just realized that if I were to let an opportunity like this pass me by, I'd be remiss.
She looks at you, somewhat confused, and says, "You saw me entering the ship." She says, "Are you a wizard?"
I know a few illusions.
She seems to appraise your dress. And she says, "Oh, really?" She goes, "So really? Some foolish hedge wizard has a spell to see through metal towards beautiful women. So you're a peeping Tom?"
I wouldn't say magic. I would say illusions. And have you here? Let me show you a trick. Would you mind walking just a little bit this way?
She rubs her head a little bit and says, "I have no time for your hedge magic."
It's not magic. You can do it too.
She says, "I can already do magic. I'm House Orion. I'm Dragon Mart. I don't have problems with magic. Please just go away. You're giving me a headache." And she rubs her head.
I assume that it's your genius that keeps this boat afloat, or sunk as it may be.
Of course it is. How else would you have something that can travel this way? Who do you think binds the elementals? Dwarves? Please.
Ooh, wee.
Magic is genius.
She says all House Orion magic is genius.
But I've never seen House Orion. You have to understand that to me, this is this is novel.
Of course it's novel. There's only 3 ships like this in all of existence. She goes, "And I don't even know why you're on this."
Oh, I'm a good buddy of Ortek's.
You.
Mm-hmm.
He hates humans. I find that hard to believe.
Believe it.
A comeback.
Believe it, babe.
Believe it.
Come at me. I couldn't believe it either until I started saying it.
I didn't really believe it until I convinced him to believe it, and then I fully believed it.
She's
I
listening.
I gotta think of a few comebacks for her. So
Is there anybody that wants to pick it up?
Yeah, I tell Claymore, I said, hey, I can't really understand a whole lot of what they're saying. I picked up a couple words here and there. Clearly, you know what's behind these panels and how this is operating.
Absolutely.
But it appears there's some kind of energy leak or energy drainage. I caught little bits and pieces. Maybe we can investigate some more. If you have any knowledge, maybe we can find out, where the problem is at. Maybe if we are able to fix the ship, he'll be indebted to us.
Perhaps.
We won't be in the same position that Gillicuddy back there is in.
Well, let's, you don't speak to them, can you?
I don't speak the language.
Yeah, okay.
As you two are talking right in front of the dwarves, the dwarf says, "You don't have to speak dwarf to talk to us. You know, it's not like we're idiots. Anyone can speak the common tongue. What do you want, and why are you here?"
Hello, first and foremost. My name is Claymore, and this is my companion friend, Benoit. And we were just overhearing the conversation. You guys kind of seem like you're in some sort of problem right now, and maybe we can assist.
Says, looks at you and he goes, "Do you know how the damn live wood works?"
Yeah, I mean...
He goes, "Oh, so you're one of them fancy warforged that cast spells, are you?"
Well, no. But I have known some, so... I mean, I'm not like a master or anything at any of this kind of stuff, but I do have some kind of knowledge.
Well, he goes, "The ship keeps going to the port side." He goes, "Can't seem to stop it." So he goes, "As far as we can tell, all the energy's coming over to the right side, moving it down the thruster tubes."
Oh.
Well, somewhere on that side that's forcing it in the opposite direction.
Yeah, counterweight.
He says, "Exactly, that's why we're over here on the starboard side. Because we figure that it's pushing too much." He goes,
Interesting.
He goes, "Oh, I forgot, you've never been on a ship, I guess." He goes, "Port, it's the other side of the ship." And he points to his left. He goes, "Starboard." He goes, "Right here." And he thumps the metal.
Understood. Well, maybe... Well, we're kind of heavy fellows, so maybe we might balance it out somehow, but something tells me that might not work.
Maybe we should take some of these other panels off on the other side and see what's going on over there.
That's a thought.
Make a persuasion roll. Oh!
Nice.
So saying, the dwarf actually is quite impressed with Benoit's wisdom as Benoit kind of baffles him with a little more BS until shortly thereafter the dwarf pulls out this long amethyst rod and he takes the crystal, taps it on each corner of the panel, and all of a sudden there's a puff of smoke and the panel falls out and the other dwarf and him catch it, grab it, and slowly move it to the side. And you see more vines underneath, except along these vines are running tiny spiders. And he goes, "What in the hell is that?" And the spiders are all crawling back into the wood.
Infestation here.
Yeah, infestation indeed.
He goes, "Why, there's a bunch of little critters living in there." And he leans over to the other dwarf and starts speaking in Dwarvish. And you get the idea that somewhere in there is a name because you hear it a few times about Anaric is this other dwarf's name, you think. And moments later, this other dwarf, Anaric, runs off. He goes, "I sent him to go tell the captain."
Well, have you had any problems like this before? Have you ever experienced this type of issue? Or is this something new?
He says, "What the hell could live under the ocean?" He goes, "It's brand new. I've never seen anything like this before." He goes, "I figured it had to be in the thrusters." He goes, "What are those little critters doing?"
Well, they're apparently creating some kind of power drain. Are they feeding off of it? What are they doing?
He goes, "I've never seen anything like them before in my life." He goes, damn little spiders. He goes, they could be biting me in the middle of the night. He goes, in the meantime, Ione, you're sitting there talking with Genki when all of a sudden you hear footsteps running up. And Genki says, hey! As a dwarf goes running by full tilt. And all of a sudden he stops, looks back, ducks his head, full beard dragging almost to the ground around the corner. And Genki, her voice switches into Dwarvish really quick, and she speaks. Do you speak Dwarvish?
Nope, I speak Orcish and Common.
She says something in this gruff voice and whatnot, and then he throws his head, says a few words back, and runs off, and she says, there's a problem with the ship. He's going to go get the captain now.
Uh-oh. Did he say what problem?
He says, something about an infestation. Animals. She goes, I better go take a look.
I'll come with. Maybe I can help.
So you start moving to the back. Lythander, you hear footsteps running up on you.
I'm gonna grab this beautiful woman's hand and pull her over to the side to save her from getting trampled by whatever the heck's running over.
You grab the woman's hand, and she literally starts jerking her hand back out of your way as you try to pull her to the side. Go ahead and make an opposed grapple check against her.
What is that? Strength?
Yes.
Okay.
Athletics is underneath it.
I'm gonna use a luck point.
Okay. You are able to hold on to her hand, and you just jerk it away. Your luck point, that allows you to reroll, right? Okay, yeah. So she fights with you a little bit, and all of a sudden, you hold her to the side, and the dwarf goes running by, yelling in common tongue, "Get out of my way!"
And just as quickly as I grabbed her hand, I let it go to show her that, not there to, take advantage of her hand. Who was that?
She says, one of those stupid dwarfs, Anorak. She goes, I don't know what the hell they've gotten into now.
Should we go investigate?
She says, probably a good idea. And she steps into the hallway, and as you go back towards investigating where he is, you realize she's turned the other way to follow him.
I follow her. I'm there to investigate with her.
Moments later, you come to the end of the ship where is one door. There's no turnoffs from this place. You saw a couple stairs on the way back, but she goes to this door, and the door is still sitting ajar, and you can hear from the other side that same dwarven voice, but speaking in common, and you hear Ortek saying, what did you do to my ship? What do you mean? Nothing live on my ship except I let it in here. And then he starts thumping towards the door right where you're at. The door swings open, and the woman that you were speaking with says, Ortek, what's going on? And he says, my ship, something on my ship. She says, this is not your ship. She goes, you captained the ship. He goes, my ship, my responsibility. And he pushes her somewhat out of the way, but not hardly when he slapped you on the back. Forcefully enough. And she's like, she snorts almost like him. And he goes pushing by you, and he says, what are you doing here? Get back to your bench. And the woman looks over at you and says, I thought you were his best friend.
I am his best friend. That doesn't mean that I can just walk around.
In the meantime, he's headed off, and you give her this really quick, good excuse. And the dwarf, Anorak, looks at her and says, are you coming? And he runs off after Ortek.
I'm going to run off, too, if she starts running off.
She does. She's following along, but you now realize the captain's door is ajar behind you. So,
that's fine, because according to the gnome, the mirror tends to be in the pouch beside his waist. So no point in just snooping around. And
might have something else that's very fine and rich.
There might be, but it's not the time.
Somebody needs to write that down, that there was a point when Lythander said there was not a time to steal and pilfer. She who walks into sleeping quarters.
Seize the opportunity.
Right now I am earning the brownie points.
There we go.
Who else is taking this as they run to the back of the ship?
Taking what?
Your story. Does anybody want to take over or no?
I mean, I'm following along with Genki to go check out what's happening, what seems to be going wrong with the ship, see if I can lend any assistance at all about this infestation, apparently.
Claymore and Benoit, you're still looking at the thing trying to get this other dwarf to explain a little bit more, but he's absolutely clueless until suddenly your friend Ionia shows up with Genklish that you met before. And Genki starts speaking to him in Dwarvish, and quickly she switches back, curses something in Gnomish, and then explains, she goes, "These are some magical little critters back here." And she starts chanting and talking and whatnot. And as she does, she puts her hands on the live wood, and you see all these little spiders as well as other tiny critters start coming out from behind the live wood. And she says, and her eyes light up, she goes, "I can't believe it." She goes, "It's the rot."
What rot?
She goes, "The wood, it's dying." She goes, "You don't understand. Live wood doesn't die. Even if you cut it, it stays alive."
That's the name. So we have no idea what could be doing this. Do the critters maybe know what's going on and where it's going on?
Well, she says, it's been a while, but
I can speak with animals. I don't know if they...
I'm
hearing critters, so like I can speak with animals.
Does speak with animals work with insects?
I
have no idea.
you said critters, so my friend said, I don't know, small critters makes me think animals.
I'm actually checking because it's a fairly common question, it turns out, by the internet. I'm seeing lots of different
I'm a
people.
nature warlock.
I mean, I'm fine with it, but I'm just kind of interested.
We have anybody that does any kind of healing? Maybe we can heal this dying wood? Anybody on the ship that does magic?
Has Claymore ever witnessed the rot before?
Ooh, make a history check. Let's find out. We might catch part of your past.
All right, let's check this out.
And no, it's only beasts for speak with animals.
Darn. I tried.
Well, I guess 9 is my number today.
Yeah, I'm guessing insects don't have a high enough intelligence to actually speak.
Probably
unless they're special
not.
critters, like monster types and stuff. All right, and I'm sorry, I'm getting back to you now. Boom, history. You got a 9, right? You didn't have advantage on that. Okay. She describes the rot. You have never experienced it personally, other than a rumor that you have heard that an entire platoon of Warforged supposedly rotted in place, you were told, in the middle of the war. No, you only know this because, again, when your troops that you were with, under the same person who's now a general, he would not let you go with your troops and whatnot.
Interesting.
To go and inspect it. It was rumored to be a new offense against the troops. If you remember, you were sold to the Brelish Empire and whatnot, and they thought that it was a way to strike out at the Brelish. You'd actually been in the war for a good 15 years at this point, and Warforged were becoming much, much bigger in the war effort.
Well, Claymore is going to convey this information, seeing as that any information is probably going to help at this point. But still kind of, he's also very, I guess, wary now that he realizes what this is to an extent. So he's trying to keep his distance, get away from these little critters because...
Put a face mask on. 6 feet of distance.
Yes. Social distancing instantly.
How appropriate. Brock, Benoit.
Precisely.
He's being careful just in case any of you bring this back with him. Ortec hasn't quite gotten there yet as you're still speaking. Benoit has no idea. He's never heard of anything like this before. Something that would attack Livewood. However, I'll let you make a history check to see what you know of live wood.
Apparently, quite a bit.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
Well,
There
you
we
are
go.
apparently,
Oh,
an expert
snap!
from your
Look at
land.
that.
wow. Okay, Doc.
You know that. You know this. That only two things to your knowledge can kill live wood: fire and something that eats live wood. Those are the two things. Because literally, if you cut a branch, it continues to grow and sprout. So they're like, you remember hearing that from the elves. They're like, you know, they would carry live wood around and replant it and whatnot. Live
And
wood
there's never
just
been
lived.
like a story about like a person that had live wood literally grow like out of them. They ate it and then like it just grew in their whole body and like out their mouth and like leaves sprouted from their eyes.
Oh
And
my.
God, how horrific. Yeah.
What
I'm
an
pretty sure
oddly
that's what happens if you eat live
question.
wood. Like super certain.
You turn into a tree.
You turn into a tree on the inside. You guys, I'm not even joking.
Oh God.
You eating live wood? Is that why your hair's slowly turning green?
Well, I go ahead and
Might
get
have eaten live wood.
the knowledge that I have as far as what can kill live wood. So clearly we have some type of infestation here that's feeding on it. Perhaps we should pull off more panels, see how deep this infestation is, and try to figure out a way to stop the infestation, kill it, stop the spread, something along those lines. At least until we can get to port. I'd hate for everything to just fall apart around us when we're 80,000 leagues under the sea.
As you are trying to convince him of this, and you see you are somewhat successful as the hold on one second. You are somewhat successful as he pulls out his own wand, which is not the same as the Anarich who ran off. This individual pulls out a wand that appears to be made of solid stone. He actually starts tapping it, and it doesn't seem to work. There's something different about what he's doing. Until finally he continues tapping it, and the panel, rather than you seeing the mist like before and it slowly coming out, literally springs away from the wall. And then he goes to catch it on his own.
I give him a hand with it. I catch it kind of in flight.
And as it does, he gets his hand in front of it, and it's your strength actually that stops it from bouncing totally onto him. And you move the panel away. And as you do slide it back, you notice the same thing, scurrying away animals, but it bounced out so quickly, you notice two things. Larger bugs in here, and the back of this panel having a sticky, almost cobwebby mass on it.
I say we turn it opposite face down and drop it and smash whatever this looks like, a sack of eggs.
Smash
Okay,
it.
if you smash a sack of eggs, things might run everywhere like straight out of a horror movie.
if you smash it
don't
good
want to
enough.
smash
It's
it.
a heavy panel, so if we smash it flat, everything in there is going to be smashed flat.
Well, you would have to
Theory.
find something to smash it flat at, because this is the wall. Here's you. The panel has fallen out at you like this, so you'll have to pull it back and then smash it flat.
And then get on the floor and stomp on it like 3,000 times.
Yes.
There you go.
Maybe hit it with a hammer. Just saying.
You can
Just
absolutely
Spider
try.
web happened to
Tap,
conduct
tap, tap, whatever you
electricity.
gotta do, bro.
Starts running, smash it.
Moments later, you guys are being cleared out of the way and whatnot. Go ahead, Art.
I think that it might actually. I think we might potentially have some better solutions than sending things scurrying around. Potentially freezing these things. I know I have some frost that I can work with potentially to freeze an egg sac and kill the things before we do any smashing, maybe. Or potentially electrocuting something. I think maybe there's got to be a more clean way that we can approach this. I can freeze the egg sac first.
Then we
Shatter
smash.
them.
Shatter them. But not like with the spell shatter.
No.
No, because that I don't have.
Let's freeze them.
Agreed.
So are you holding off Benoit, or did you follow through with your plan?
No, I'm gonna smash. If she wants to freeze, she's got to catch everything coming out.
Okay, so you're still trying to describe this as the big Elliot is just like pushing out of the way and throws this thing down while you're still talking, trying to describe what the idea is to do. And Benoit, you throw this thing flat on the ground and it just rings. And I'm going to give the dwarf a roll to try and avoid getting his toes crushed as he's pushed out. Again, this is a really tight area and whatnot. And these are big panels.
Oh.
And hang on one second. I need a different dice. I don't want to use my good dice on you and, kill everybody. Yeah, that didn't work. Alright, well, I tried. The panel is actually, remember how I said they're tall and whatnot? Is too wide for the door. It almost goes flat, and it ends up hitting and wedging. Instead of going all the way flat, it wedges against the other wall just about 8 to 12 inches up. Not quite going flat. It looked like it would fit, and it was just that little bit. And as it went down, you heard this as it just like wedged in place. And as you do, because the roll was only a 2, moments later you start seeing things scurry out from underneath.
I'm trying to cast frost all around this stuff to nail these buggers.
You're on the
Little
one
buggers.
side. Now the panel, of course, has 2 sides. And you're on the one side and you're frosting it. As you do, they are just freezing and crickling in place. Unfortunately, they're also scurrying out the other side where Claymore
This
is.
was a bad idea.
Claymore has moved out of the way.
Yes.
Benoit is standing there on Claymore's side. Ionia is on the other side, frosting away. And that's when Ortek and the others come running in and whatnot. What's going on here? And he looks over very quickly and sees that. And it's the woman behind him, a human woman, who says, "Oh, dear God, it's the Blight."
Crap.
Step on the blight.
Step all over it, please.
Please help. Send help.
Smash it with a quickness, anything that moves.
Well, there's
I mean,
things
you have to
moving
find
in
anything
the
that
wall,
moves, but-
and there's
Wow.
things moving over there, climbing.
Anything near me, I'm smashing.
All right, Benoit's stepping all over all these bugs and whatnot. It kind of looks like the river dance as he starts.
I'm dancing a jig.
That's it.
Jig.
Yeah.
Man, he's got some.
Swarms.
Claymore, what's your response to all this? Bugs won't hurt you. You're like, oh, they're just bugs.
Yeah, it's a fight or flight. So obviously, most of the time, I'm just gonna fight. So yeah, squash them.
Yeah.
Squash them.
Moments
Roll
later,
over.
you guys are doing the river dance all over as these things are crawling out and swarming over and whatnot. And there's the frost spell going, and the
Don't slip on
woman
the
actually
ice.
says, "Ortek, we have to get this back to the city at once." Lythander, what are you doing during all this?
Lysander had just run up with her, so his first instinct is to scream like a little girl because bugs.
Ah! And a few of them are making it past Ionia on your side. She's frosting, but it's only 1 or 2 that seem to be getting by her because she's focusing on underneath, and she realizes that very easily you're going to have to get to the heart of this problem if you want to stop the rest coming out, which means getting down kind of face to face and squirting under this thing. Ortek starts snorting, get out of the way because he wants to lift up the panel because he can see these things coming out from underneath.
I'm beating feet. I'm out the way. I'm gone. I don't do spiders.
Yep. So
I'm ready to start shooting at that egg sac to try and prevent more coming out as soon as he lifts it, and I expect that they'll crawl up his arm. So I'm going to go for the egg sac.
it's really interesting because the 2 biggest guys in the party on the other side are kind of wedged in this hallway as Benoit's trying to get back away from the spiders and whatnot, and Claymore's just kind of trying to step on them all, some of which are getting onto him and whatnot. Benoit's getting back and away, pushing him to the side as because they're both big individuals in these tight corridors that are built for one person, as they kind of get around each other. Ionia, you get down, ignoring Ortek, who's telling you to get out of the way. You look underneath as he's trying to grab this thing. You start blasting underneath, killing, frosting all over. You're just like, frost, 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 frost. Because I believe that's a cantrip, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so
I'm
you're just like,
shooting it off as many times as every 6 seconds. There's some more
Yeah, you're like,
frost that I'm shooting.
yeah, you're blasting away at this thing, casting the spell over and over again. Lythander, it appears that the woman, who is just so beautiful according to your words and whatnot, is fumbling in her pouches trying to find something. You can't quite tell what.
I'm just gonna try and squash some bugs while she tries to find whatever she's trying to find. Stomp on them.
Make a dexterity save for me, please, and it is a saving throw.
Saving throw, dexterity.
It's beautiful. You just catch yourself as you're on all this frosty, slippery floor, trying to, get away and step on things, which is causing it to be slippery on your end. Anorak is also trying to get in there, the two dwarves, to help Ortek, and they're pulling up on the metal, which has wedged in place. Once they get you, as you were slipping and whatnot, holding onto the wall off to the side, they're able to actually grab onto this and actually get it up. It's with a screeching sound. They pull it back up, which gives Arya's character Ionia enough room to blast this thing solid. And the only spiders left are a few that appear to have made it all the way to Claymore. Benoit, by this point, you've actually gotten enough distance. The one or two that were on you, you slapped and killed very quickly and easily. And you realize these are unlike other spiders that you've seen before. When you usually slap a spider, you're pretty used to the goo. These ones didn't seem to die as easy. You're slapping them a couple times and you're like, till you actually rub them together.
Oh.
Claymore is pretty much just like knowing what these things can do now, and remembering he's kind of having a little bit of a freak out, telling Ionia, "Get it off of me! Get him off of me!"
Start smacking him off of Claymore.
Make a perception roll.
All right.
Okay.
Perception. Please.
Oh no. They have the blight.
You realize that some of them have already crawled underneath your plates towards the live wood underneath.
Of course.
Start shooting ice inside of you. I can start shooting ice inside of you.
Well, how much, blight, ice? That doesn't seem too bad of a trade-off.
Fire versus ice. I mean, it's literally the opposite. Hopefully it won't kill you.
I could thaw out, right?
Start shooting ice in there at them. If
It
you
is
will
damage,
move
yeah.
that way, I can get at joints. I will start shooting ice into you.
Maybe I'll have blight powers like spider powers or something if it bites me.
There's a radioactive one in there.
You're gonna be the little girl from Into the Spider-Verse, except you'll be her robot. You'll be the
Yes.
robot with the spider powers.
Nobody wants Lythander inside them. Don't let Lythander in.
No. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Well.
Lythander, you don't need a brain. Let's pull that out of here. It's like, wait, I can put that in my pocket.
Doesn't look like it's important.
Whoops.
Brock, what's Benoit doing?
Staying away from the spiders, man.
I already said you smacked the last of them off of you.
Hey, and I'm staying back.
Okay. He's just making sure he's got plenty of space. He's away from you. You realize that Claymore is actually slapping at some of his things, and Warforged have 3 massive digits. That's all they have on heads, and so there's no way he can get under his plates and whatnot. Not that he can even remove plates.
I can help out. I do.
Yeah. Okay, you're checking, brushing a couple off of him, just like Ionia, you said you've crossed as they've gotten the plate up, you've moved over to help Claymore, is that right?
Outside frozen the egg sack, I was helping the Warforged shooting ice inside him.
Okay. By this point, you're literally starting to freeze various joints on him, causing damage and whatnot. So go ahead and make a few damage checks on him. Or actually, he could tell you can cast one, and he's gonna point out the 3 areas they are. So we'll let you spray the first one. Just roll for damage.
He does get to make a Constitution saving throw. The frost and everything happens no matter what, but I mean, there's a Constitution saving throw versus the damage.
Okay, so Constitution saving throw, got it.
Yeah, DC 15 for the first one here.
15.
So you made that.
Yeah.
There we go. So
Wow.
second one.
Okay.
Good. Third one.
All right, third time. Please don't trip up at the end.
It's only 1d6 damage. It's a cantrip. There you go. I was gonna say, even if like I got you with all 3 at level 3, I'm pretty sure you'd survive 3d6 damage. But like, you know, the numbing frost spreads and affects the ground. But the damage happens if you fail a Constitution saving throw.
Woo. Cool.
So now, did he take any damage?
No.
No damage
I just
whatsoever?
feel very fresh.
Wow.
He got Constitution saving throws 15, 23, and 20.
So it's 0 damage. Okay, not half. Perfect. So literally, you do really well, and she starts frosting over you, and she seems to be able to keep it to most of the metal and whatnot. Your live wood does not is not affected underneath, and with that, you do see a few crusty spiders fall out from underneath you, and you're quick to try and count. You know, you had seen at least 3 go in, and at least 3 have fallen out when you start moving your joints a little bit. You know, you flex and little bits come out. In the meantime, this woman who doesn't even seem concerned with who you are, she just doesn't care. She seems to have all her focus on the ship, is realizing what you've cast, and she does not have frost. That is not her ability. She says, that seems to work. Can you cast it on this? Don't kill the live wood, though.
I will absolutely do my best there. I will cast where she has indicated to, and I will try to be careful. Like, if I can, instead of casting directly on the live wood, like if the live wood is against metal, cast it, like try to get it on the metal more as my target than as the live wood directly where I can, you know? Mm-hmm. I get that it's all affecting the area, but like I'm trying where I can.
As she does this, she literally starts using her magic, and the live wood literally moves following her directions, opening up and giving you the ability to cast frost towards the back and whatnot. Ortok starts snuffing and demanding to know what she's doing and what's happening, and she literally just tells him, shut up, and whatnot. She just barks right at the captain, and you realize he stops when she barks at him. Go ahead, Benoit.
And I explained to the first dwarf that took off running that had the wand, hey, we probably need to open up some more compartments, make sure we get as much of this wiped out as we can.
He tries fighting against you, being like, you don't tell me what to do. And Ortek says, I'm in charge. And that's when the woman says, remove the panels now. I need access. And whatnot. And the dwarf kind of eyeballs Ortek. And Ortek says, you heard her. Do it. You know, changing his tune very quickly. Moments later, panels up and down the side are removed. And you realize there's more of these nests. And instead of squashing them this time, she points them. Yep. It takes about a good hour before she's satisfied with moving all the live wood and freezing it. And you realize that this had spread equally throughout this. She removes another 2 panels up and down just to make sure until you find no more.
Oh, who knew I was going to be fighting spiders today for an hour?
She tells them that they need to put the panels back in place. But and Ortek says, thank you. And the woman, though, is not satisfied. She says, how did they get here, though?
That could be potentially any number of things. I don't know how these things move, but like, I mean, just being docked, if it had crawled on via the ramp at some point, or if it rode in with somebody traveling, obviously not us. They're too far nested for it to have been us. But like, if they rode on with a passenger, maybe. If you've been anywhere infected at all, what kind of blight is this?
She looks and says, the blight was specifically engineered against his type, and she nods in the direction of Claymore. She goes, some believe it was designed by House Kyrie, by the nation of Kyrie itself as a defense in case the Warforged ever rose up. She says, but that's foolish. Cannith wouldn't do that. Cannith would never design something to destroy their own things. They keep too many tight control factors in place. She goes, others believe that it's nature's response. And at that point, Genki says, I believe it. She goes, nature likes things natural. It'll take care of its own.
I'm inclined to believe that either could be possible. I think nature really does evolve to fight against things that man does all the time, but I also wonder if maybe you've been somewhere into a dock where you know that if you have an idea, since you don't think that this was House Cannith, if you have an idea of like a house specifically that might have developed this to fight, if you've been into a dock that potentially has a port city that has members of that house in it, where or close enough that they might have intentionally planted this on your ship.
Do I have any information that I can give them since I have a little bit of history on the Blight?
Refresh my memory because I might be wrong. I thought the only thing that you knew was that the only things to kill live wood were fire or something digesting it. Did I give you information on the Blight?
Well, I don't know. That's what I'm asking. Do I have information?
Oh, I thought you were saying, can you give them... Yeah. Now that you know the Blight is what she's talking about, I will let you make that roll and I'll give you a lower DC because you have some information on live wood and you know... Okay, yeah, go ahead and make a roll for me on... that would be... not history. Let's see if your elves have ever encountered it, because the Goliaths haven't. You know some discussion about something not called the Blight, but something in elvish history that affected the trees. And it had to do with spiders, which, you know, you're seeing here, but according to those legends, those were massive spiders that actually killed the trees by covering all the leaves and the canopy with spider webs, which prevented them getting light. It sounds like something different, you're pretty sure, but it was deadly to all the trees at that time. Although even then the live wood supposedly did not die, it just stopped growing.
I pass on what I have, and maybe they have something to go along with that. And it may have nothing to do with it. We'll let them decide.
Claymore would like to ask, perhaps there's a manifest you guys have carrying cargo that might have been infested with these things?
Produce a lot of times will bring bugs onto ships. I don't know if there's like specific food that you've brought in that's from an area that this might be running around.
Lythander, do you want to share what you already found out about the bathrooms in the galley?
I didn't remember finding out anything about the bathrooms in the galley.
When you first approached the House Orion individual, she thought you were coming to ask where they were, and she told you something?
She told me they were down the hall.
Okay.
Thought she said they were down below. There's no bathrooms and they're down below. The food is down below.
You know, they're asking about food and whatnot, so if you know where the galley is, might be information you want to share with them.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry.
You know, like Benoit's trying to find his history and share it. They're all trying to piece this together as quick as they can. As you talk about the food, the woman demands of Aura, did we take on any supplies? And he says, the only thing we took on was, you know, and let me just check his name really quick, was Celador, who was leaving. And we didn't take on any foodstuffs at that time.
With all due respect, you might want to consider back a little further. These nests are pretty extensively spread. It's likely not at your last stop. It's likely a couple stops ago at least, depending on how long your voyages were, so that these things could get on and start breeding and nesting and spreading throughout the entire ship. I don't think it's likely to have happened within 24 hours.
You seem to have impressed the woman from House Lyrander. And
Right?
Genki, of course, echoes some of... What's that? House Orion. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. That's another individual. Sorry, I pointed to the wrong one.
Wasn't trying to distract
Who
you.
was the one that said that? Was that Arya? You have a plot point for that. Thank you, for keeping the storyline straight. As she describes the woman from House Orion, talks about this. You seem to have impressed her mightily, and she actually says, "I'd like to talk with you further about this." Ortec, I'm taking her below, and whatnot. She says, "Follow me." Ortec snuffs and whatnot loudly, reaches up and, you know, scratches at the half-broken horn. And then, grumbles something in a language you don't quite understand. Maybe he's just huffing. Maybe he has a tough time breathing. Or maybe it's just the way that Minotaurs speak. In the meantime, he barks something angrily at the dwarves, who start working to put everything back in place. Yeah. Always us. Yeah, we're the ones that have to do everything around here. And whatnot. And he looks over at Claymore and at Benoit. You two. Kind of sort of ignoring Lythander and says... He says...
He's not so,
You
built
two.
there.
He goes, "You're not infested, are you?" And he looks at Claymore.
I am clean.
Keeping my buddy clean.
Says,
As I shake off some of the frost out of my...
Beautiful little frost patterns that have spread over the surface of the metal,
looks like a little bit like Jack Frost on the outside, and a little bit of whitish powder pours out from underneath. Benoit, he thanks you directly for sharing your knowledge.
I tell him no problem. Clearly, I overheard them saying we were having some power issues, and so we got to checking, and that's how we found all this. So glad we get it taken care of. That way we don't all end up, at the bottom of the seafloor.
He asks the other two, he says, "Is this the solution? Is this what it's fixed?" And they kind of look at each other and shrug their shoulders. They're like, "Don't know, but it was a problem." And then they point to Benoit and say, "He's the one that figured it out, though."
I also start offering to help them lift the panels back up and put them into place, so they can magic wand them and seal them or whatever they need to do.
You notice that the one, Anaric, with his purple wand, smacks away the other one with his stone wand every time the guy with the stone wand wants to start doing something. And he goes, "Put that stupid thing away. You know it's not built for this." And Anarac's using it, and when he does, everything goes smoothly back into place. He says, "This is what she gave it to us for." Claymore and Benoit seem to be pretty tight with Ortek. Ortek seems pretty distracted. Lythander, are you doing anything with this time?
This is not Lythander's area of expertise. He's like that awkward person whenever there's help going out and everybody's being assigned to jobs, and he's just kind of standing there, maybe thinking he'll get assigned a job, not really sure what to do.
You always got picked last in dodgeball,
around.
didn't you?
He's just kind of standing around.
Ortek, who is impressed with Benoit's sharing of information, invites Benoit to go with him. He wants to talk with you at further length, leaving Claymore and Lythander and the dwarves alone. Ionia, you are with the woman from House Orion and whatnot, who she takes you down to the galley and starts making you tea. And she looks at you and says, "Now, before I say this, if I remember correctly, you still dress in House Kyrie colors, don't you?"
Yes,
Okay,
I believe so. What are the colors specifically?
I don't have what your uniform colors and all that are in front of me right now. I just wanted to make sure that you are dressed in something like you did back then. If I thought that was part of your character's description and whatnot. She looks at you and says, "So, a refugee from the war?"
Of sorts, yes. Not exactly a home to go to.
She says, "No, the Mournland's not a home for anyone, is it, these days?" She finishes pouring the tea and puts it before you. She says,
"Thank you."
"But it doesn't mean we have to lose the amenities." She says, "I see you still keep your hair in the style of individuals who believe that art is alive."
Indeed.
You realize as she's talking that she shows a great deal of affinity for understanding Kyrian customs. In fact, at one point she actually pronounces Kyrie correctly rather than calling it sire or what some of the other people do. And she explains to you, "I actually worked there with House Cannith." She goes,
Really?
"I was part of the individuals in charge of the lightning rail."
Okay, I'm familiar. Yes.
She goes, "Orion believes in transportation." She goes, "In fact, the ship that you were on was part of a project that we were doing shortly before the end." She goes, "You might have recognized that House Cannith, of course, has part of the design factor with this as well. Just as
It's
they
a
did
very
with
impressive ship. I really like it. I had no idea we were going underwater, admittedly. I'm very impressed by it.
She goes, thank you. I take a great deal of pride in how the elementals move the water over the hull and whatnot. Not that these fops could understand it. It's art as much as it is magic.
Indeed. I'm actually kind of, not that I'm remotely happy that something bad happened, but it's almost a little thrill that I actually got to see inside the ship even further, to see the piece of art that it is, not just on the surface what people are intended to see, but to be in it, to be into some of the inner workings of it, and to have seen it and to help keep it sailing. It's a deep honor to me.
She places her hand on the bulkhead and says, yes, the mysterious pristine aura is definitely one of a kind. She'll outlive us all, above or below the waters.
Or no. Oh my fuck.
Hopefully, if there's no blight, you know. I mean, he's not saying that. I'm just. That's the plan. So, was there something specific you wanted to discuss about the ship with me?
She goes, actually, I wanted to discuss how you knew about the blight and what you know about it. Its history.
I actually don't, unless you think there's something specific that my character would know. I don't think I know anything about it. I was with Genki. I'd come across her in the hall. She was fixing some things for the ship, which intrigued me because I'm very interested in a lot of the transportation developments and the various pieces that House Cannith has had its hands in as well. I was talking with her when a dwarf had run by whose name I don't know. I don't know everyone on the ship, but he had said something about an infestation, and I happen to have an interest in art and nature, how the two interplay, and I have some knowledge of nature in general, so I wanted to figure out what had infested the ship. I was picturing mice or something had gotten onto the ship, or rats had gotten into the food, something like that. Maybe my ability to speak with animals would help, depending on what it was. I wasn't really anticipating spiders, but I figured frost was something that I had that I could use readily, with no real limit on the amount of times that I've used frost quite a lot for various endeavors in my life. And so I figured that might be something that would be a readily reusable resource that could help. You know, most creatures don't like to be frozen, and spiders are small, so they're easily affected by this.
She says, I had hoped that you might know something more that would help. She says, I take it that you're just going to Slinlantia for the art then, for what they've scavenged off the bottom of the ocean?
That's of interest to me. I'm going mostly because I'm traveling with my group, but it's a little safer to travel in a group. And admittedly, we were going to be going back to the mainland, and then we saw the ship here, and of course, Lythander recognized the captain, and so we came to talk, and came with to apparently an underwater city. I'm mostly happy to go where the tides of fate lead me, so to speak. I find there's always something interesting to observe and learn about another culture.
She chuckles and she says, the tides of fate. She goes, a cute play on words considering we're underwater. I like that. It shows
Thank
your
you.
educated humor. She goes, I've missed that amongst these other individuals. She
It
goes,
is an interesting crew that they have here.
interesting is one word for it. She goes, I find it to be intellectually dull.
You can't bring anyone more stimulating with you, somebody as a co-runner of the ship, co-owner, something of the sort.
She says, the mysterious pristine aura is a leftover of war, still ascribed to our house. She goes, its last duty station was actually to make port in Slinlantia. She goes, but the war was quickly put over shortly after she was commissioned. She goes, so technically she remains under our authority. She goes, yet Captain Oryx served, and so he remains her captain still. She goes, not that the fool could do anything without me. She goes, it's a tenuous relationship at best.
But it seems to function at least, which is important. How many underwater ships like the Pristine Aura are there?
She goes, we were only ever able to create 3 before the war ended.
Really makes her a unique find.
She was never lost.
A find for me to have stumbled across in my day.
Ah.
I didn't even know that this existed, to be honest.
Well, wait till you see the other treasures of Slinlantia. She goes, but of course, fish people aren't exactly the cultural elite, shall we say. More scavengers of the bottom, collecting all the other races. Like Slinlantia itself, a leftover of the giants and all that they had created.
You find yourself surrounded by people who are not of the culturally intelligent kind quite often, don't you?
She says yes. She goes, and while I would never leave the mysterious Pristine Aura, she goes, it is difficult in these days. I rather wish that they had posted a captain from the war here rather than sending over Ortek.
Why did they choose him? Do you have an idea?
I've asked my superiors that many times and have yet to receive a proper answer. But he listens. She goes, I think personally we should bring it home, but suddenly there is very little interest in going to Slinlantia right now. She goes, and of course they don't want to advertise the mysterious Pristine Aura or her sisters. Which leads me to why I brought you here. I don't know why Captain Ortek let you on board the ship. Specifically, our directives were to take anybody from Slinlantia to shore, providing they have credentialing through House Orion. And no offense, but judging by the way that you and your friends are dressed and look, I don't believe you would have any credentials from House Orion. So
none whatsoever.
She says, I appreciate honesty. It's a mark of class. She says, tell me, how is it that you convinced that fool Ortek to let you on? To violate orders?
My friend Lythander, he's a member of our group. He's quite the people person, and I guess he has come across Ortek before. They've had some drinks together, and they formed a sort of friendship in that encounter. So Lythander proceeded to reintroduce himself to somebody that he considers to be a dear friend of his, and asked for voyage. Admittedly, like I said, the group was intending to go to the mainland. I think we mostly got on the ship because Lythander had that connection, and there may have been a false assumption that both ships and dock were going back towards Corvair.
Wait, so you didn't even know you were going to Slinlantia?
Not a clue. It's not something I often ask because, as I said, I'm happy to go where I'm led, and I usually let my group sort of make a lot of those decisions. I accompany them for the ride, for the safety, for the experience. I just don't think it was something that the group really cleared up.
You see the anger come out, and quickly before she can draw it back, she's like, that sour milk drinking son of a... And then she stops and like recomposes herself and takes a deep breath and says, I understand now. She says, I appreciate your honesty. There's something I need to go and talk with the captain about. And with that, we'll cut back over to Benoit, who's actually with the captain inside the front of the ship at the moment.
Here we go. Here we go.
Brock, he leads you in, and as you come in, you realize that this front of the ship is actually quite spacious. It's not tiny the way anywhere like where you were. The floor is nice. The walls are nice. It's all finished. The smooth stone of the floor has been covered with a large spacious carpet, and you can see some wear marks leading back behind the desk where the Minotaur's hooves actually have created a wear trail, and he sits down in this massive chair which appears to have some sort of carved figures on it that look almost like demon heads and whatnot. And he sits down, and you immediately notice sitting on the wall the other part of his broken horn hung up, and from it hang tassels and whatnot. And so he says, "You sit." And there's a chair over there, a normal size chair, a little small for you, but
I squeezed into it.
And whatnot. He
Sit
says,
down.
"So, you good with information? You good with helping? You want to help Ortec more?" "Sorry."
How so?
He goes, "You stay here. You help. You become number 2, second horn."
That's a very intriguing offer, but I'm part of a group here that we kind of travel together, so I can't just up and go.
No, that stupid little human. You don't need him."
Lysander.
Audible chuckle.
Many battles and many adventures together, and we mesh well. We work as a team. You can understand that being the captain of the ship. You've got to have your own team that works well. I mean, if one's not working well, you got to find somebody to take their spot to replace them. Because if your group ain't meshing well, you're not going to have a good journey.
He strokes what appears to be a goatee at the end of his bull snout and whatnot, and says, "Yes, Ortec understand this concept. You and Ortec work well. Yes."
I'm willing to give up what knowledge I have if it's going to be beneficial to everyone around. In this case, with the spiders, I mean, it was beneficial for all of us to get that under control, so we don't end up at the bottom of the ocean.
He says, "You benefit all. Yes. You help Ortec. You help Miss Priss. You help us all. Good. And you speak good. Better than Ortec."
I have quite a bit of knowledge of language, different cultures.
He goes, "Very good." He goes, "Your friends. No necessary. You have adventures with Ortec."
What
He's
do
trying
you
to snipe you from a party.
What do you do other than travel around on the ship?
He goes, "We transport. Go to underwater city." He goes, "There. Trade. Give transport to others. And they give Ortec many gifts." He says, You see desk. You see rug." He goes, "Rug." And he raps. And actually, as you look over the edges of the rug, try to pull out from under the desk and whatnot, he says, "You lay it back flat." He goes, "Many gifts for a captain of ship." He goes, "You, second horn, you get gift too."
Well, I'll have to consider the offer. I mean, it's very, very appreciative. But I got some loose ends I would have to tie up first.
He says, "Which one you need tied up?" He goes, "The Warforged?"
Actually, a Warforged can be pretty handy. Him and I have had to battle through some tough spots.
We wrestled.
He goes, "We understand this." He goes, "I make sure because you help." He goes, next few days, he goes, you let Ortec sell you on reasons why. You find that Ortec many adventure. You Ortec and name?" And he points at you.
Benoit.
"And Benoit and Ortec. We do good together. Benoit and Ortec do many adventures in next few days. You watch. You learn. We be together."
Together forever.
Like besties.
That's it. And we will end it on the besties since we as best friends play together well. And we're obviously getting new connections between Ionia and a House Orion individual and Benoit and a Minotaur of almost equal size.
Ionia's feeling pretty ritzy having a connection in House Orion right now. Like, feeling so ritzy.
And the abominable snowman Claymore with his Jack Frost designs. And Lythander, who's looking to rob everybody, is with poor little Genki now.
Lythander already had a connection coming into this, though. We can't overlook his deep-set friendship with Ortek.
That's it.
They go way back.
Yeah.
Way back.
They share many a pint of sour milk together. And that's where we'll call it for tonight. Do you guys want to sign off to anybody? Tell anybody anything that's coming up in your lives in the next week? Anything that we should be talking about, thinking about?
For me personally, I know Chic Geek has her stuff going on her Etsy.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, again, I have a video coming out on Wednesday on my channel.
Ooh, very good. So we'll watch the videos and whatnot. How about anybody else? Pick your poison. You spoke first, Kitty, so you pick the person.
Chic Geek.
I've got more stuff coming up on my Etsy. I just drilled holes in a whole bunch of dice this last week, and I was going to make dice jewelry out of those first, but then I decided to get some face masks up. Now I'm waiting on another order of fabric to come in to do more face masks, so I'm gonna shift gears, and somewhere in the next couple days I should be getting more dice jewelry up on my Etsy, which is really great. Really looking forward to getting a lot of that stuff done.
Pick your poison.
Brock.
All right, well, this is where I'm going to take my moment to get a superstar plug in and say, just remember to keep washing those hands and wearing those face masks and get through this coronavirus together and get back to normal life.
Amen. And that would leave Eric.
Hey, I'm gonna actually piggyback off of Brock there, because right now, we all have this duty to take things into our own hands. So we've got that opportunity. Hey, do what you need to do. Wash your hands. Just stay distancing from others. But don't be afraid to go outside and get that breather every once in a while, because trust me, everybody needs it at some point. So don't be afraid of that, at least. But
I'll plug two things then. I'll say I see Aria with the masks. Aria, if you can get each one of us a mask by next week, we'll all do at the end or at the start. We'll promote not only your mask, but we'll show everybody and try to promote safe practices here. If we can maybe even get some gloves, we'll do that too.
Absolutely. If you're missing a face mask at home, you can go buy one from Chic Geek on Etsy. They're up. And they're fashionable.
So we can absolutely do that. And I was going to say, during this time when we're all working through the pandemic and whatnot, I just want to remind all of our viewers, while we may have to be socially distancing from one another physically, do not let yourself be socially distant from anybody in relationships. It's easy to reach out. It's easy to stay connected. We have so many ways, whether it's email, phone calls, texts, tweets. We have so many ways. Send a picture, reach out, do something. Maybe you're old-fashioned and you want to send a card, but do something. Don't let anybody feel alone during this time. And if you're feeling low, tune in. Drop like we had individuals doing tonight. Jump into a chat. It's way too easy to let the world overcome you, and we are here for you. That's one of the reasons that the Relics of War crew streams, is for all of you watching. And as you can see, we're a pretty tight family. We take care of one another. So I want to thank you all for spending tonight with us. God bless. Have a great evening, everybody. We'll see you next week, Monday night, 9 p.m. EST.
Night, everyone.
Night. And